That was a nice Jewish girl from Hawaii, and she came to New York, and she started auditioning for things. And among the things that she auditioned for after a few years was a gig in a Turkish bath. And it happened because the owner of the place, a guy named Steve Ostro, who's had his own documentary, inherited this Turkish bath on the Upper West Side that had a nightclub in it that, from my understanding, when the plumbing had been repaired, the nightclub, which was not originally connected to the Turkish bath, became connected to it because they discovered that if they turned on the heat, the nightclub heated up to 123 degrees. So they couldn't rent out the nightclub, so they threw it in with the Turkish bath. And Ostro decided as long as he had this nightclub, he would have performers to come in and perform for the guys in towels. And Bette was one of the first. She was like the third. But she went and auditioned. She was in Fiddler on the Roof, I believe, at the time, playing one of the daughters. And she went and auditioned, and he gave her this job. And so she was singing at the baths. This was the Continental Baths, which later became Plato's Retreat, which has also had its own documentary. But it was a famous old Turkish bath in the Ansonia Hotel, which at the time was 100 years old and is now 140 years old, and is at 73rd and Columbus on the Upper West Side. The way I responded the first time I saw her, I had never seen anybody on stage who had such an eclectic selection of song stuff, or who took everything that happened and made it work for her. I mean, she came on and, you know, her hair would kind of be flying around and she'd be in some strange outfit and she would say, "Oh, I'm a mess." It was like she wasn't trying to pretend that she was, you know, Anne Margaret, that she had been, you know, coutured into oblivion. She wasn't trying to pretend that she was a huge movie star. She was just a girl like you who had thrown something together and had an extraordinary talent. And so everybody suddenly identified with her because we all feel that way. And as the evening went on, it got bigger because you realized that her whole persona was somebody on the outside looking in. And she literally was. I mean, she was a Jewish girl from Hawaii. How many of them do you know? You know, I mean, one of her early jokes was it was tough being a Jewish kid and the only Jewish kid in a Samoan neighborhood. She lived in an alien culture, and she was an alien in that culture. And so she had a unique perspective, and when she finally got to New York and was surrounded by Jews, she was able to absorb all of that and mix that in with the stuff that she had brought from Hawaii and the experience of being an outsider. And of course, when you don't look like Miss USA, and you're a woman and you're trying to entertain people, you have to deal with that. You have to turn around and make that an asset because, especially at the time, women were expected to be really gorgeous and glamorous. There had been Barbra Streisand, who really had broken the mold, and Bette did follow in her shoes. But Bette was much more rock and roll than Barbra Streisand because she was a few years younger than Barbra, and her influences were different than Barbra's influences.